So I'd like to ask them if they can each introduce themselves and then what they do, what the company does, and then we can get into some Q&A. And please, I know you just had lunch and you're probably having that nice post-lunch feeling of comfort, but I want you to give them some hard questions. So please think of them as they go through their introduction.
Hello, I'm Ajey. I'm the CEO of Norigin Media. We're a TV technology company working mainly on OTT relevant solutions. I think a lot of us do this, but I think a quick word about Scandinavia in general. It's the Neverland of TV technology. Everything in our pure air works so well for the digital distribution of OTT content, where it's affordable, where people understand and use international content, where the devices are fantastic, where the network is brilliant. And all of this put together makes it a brilliant example market, is what I'd like to bring in terms of the intelligence for this panel.
Okay, so I'm Jacques Guillemot from Nagra. So I'm in charge from our investment and our offering in terms of AI and business performance. So Nagra, for the one who don't know, is one of the leading provider of technology for premium content distribution. Our technology is present in about 400 million households, and we are present in about 64 countries in the world.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu, Chief Analytics Officer of Canal International. I run a team of a dozen of data scientists, analysts, whose daily job is to explain and forecast the evolution of our portfolio worldwide, except for France. As you may not know, Canal is not only present in France, but also in Poland, in French overseas territories in Africa, and in Asia, in Vietnam and Myanmar. So I'm dedicated to explaining all the evolution of our portfolio and the behavior of our portfolio regarding all the touch points he can get with Canal Plus platforms or channel of contacts, which gives us a lot of data and insight to our executive, and we are quite lucky at Canal Plus because our top management is really, and for ages, data-driven, and not a main decision is made without regarding data and making analytics talk and so we are quite useful, and it's very important for us to show to the executive and to all of you today that we can simplify all the data we are gathering from transactional act, sales churn, to financial data, or we get the revenue for each subscriber, and link this to the consumption they have, for example, in our platform, My Canal, and links and simplify all this to make a right decision and simplify the life and the growth, because we're also talking about growth of our activity worldwide.
So I'm picking up on that term simplification. Is it something you're trying to do for the user predominantly, simplify their user experience, how they can browse, how they can find content they want? Is that where your simplification focuses? It's
true. I talk as an executive in Canal, but we daily try to put ourselves in the place, in the seat of the subscriber, and actually to simplify his experience with our platform. For example, we have launched a project to unify all our experiment or our UI UX in our decoders and in My Canal. There will be soon only one My Canal worldwide, whereas today we have different way to get to the contents. So it's the first way to simplify the experience of the user, of the end user. And also we have built some ML algorithm aimed at helping the search and simplifying the search for the subscriber, editing the most appropriate content he would choose and he would love, and that will make stay longer in our platform. And we know brain time is quite important in our business because it is very linked to churn and to the loyalty of our subscribers. So we try on a daily basis to put ourselves in the head of the subscriber to simplify also his life and his interaction with our platforms.
Got it. But behind the scenes, maybe we could ask you, Jacques-Edouard, behind the scenes, isn't it much more complex? I know we have to make sure that this user experience is simplified, but you have so many different types of content, so many different destinations from that content, so many different parts of the system now with the microservices architecture. How are you going to be able to contribute to simplifying what is behind the scenes to make the user experience as easy as possible?
I think you have to start first by what you want to accomplish, and I think Matthieu gave us a very good view on this, which is I want to maximize the usage of my service, which is the first objective, because if there is no usage, there is no user. And then also in terms of content, I want to increase the ROI of my content. This is extremely important. I want to increase my revenues from targeting, and I want also to decrease my cost of operations. These are, for me, the four main important objectives that we can have. And then, of course, we have to, as you say, reduce the complexity, which is, I think, even more complex than what you described, because we have today's technology, but we have yesterday's technology and some technologies that have been here for 25 or 30 years. I think at Nagra we know what it is, We have also organizational complexity, because when you see the way Facebook is structured and the way a TV operator is structured is extremely different, and we have to deal with this legacy organization that have to perform as good or nearly as good as the new entrants. I don't not new anymore, but the new entrants. And so there is a lot of complexity, and the role as a partner of many operators, our positioning is really to help operators, to help them focus on what's essential, what are the business goals that we have, and help reduce the complexity and do a lot of work or package a lot of stuff to help operators just deal with this complexity that is really on one hand extremely powerful, because this legacy is also the legacy of the subscriber bases that is combined in the world. Petit operators have the biggest subscriber bases. That is also the largest content catalog in the world. So this legacy is also an asset, but is also a liability that we had to manage with.
Ajey, put you on the spot. How is it in the Nordics? Are you helped because you've got a kind of simpler, smaller problem to solve, or is it still as complex?
No, it's very simple in the Nordics. Yeah. There are three big companies. There's Microsoft, there's Google, there's Apple. They contribute to different parts of the value chain. They have devices. They suggest certain ways of streaming in terms of video. They protect content. So there's DRM, there's video choice of streaming protocol, as well as devices. I don't think it's complex. I think where we are, when it is very subjective as to which part of a business, a service operator is. I think if you implement a service meant for what you're trying to achieve, it's simple enough. So if you are thinking you want to have a service for Apple devices, Microsoft and Google devices, and you have HLS and Dash today, and you have three forms of DRM, which is common encryption today, I think if you want to implement a service today in 2019 from scratch, it's quite simple. If you want to say that I've invested 30 years ago in a broadcast solution, which has nothing to do with OTT, where there was no internet and video delivery at that point in time, and try to force fit internet delivery into a broadcast environment, that becomes complicated. And I think architecturally things are becoming more simple. Dash was implemented, but it's not doing the job that it had to do, but it did a decent job. And then we'll talk about CMAF as well. It's just another step in the right direction. It is an industry, after all, which is changing faster than we can imagine. And there's a consumption pattern which is growing beyond any numbers that anyone has ever predicted.
So you've actually made a contention that broadcast and OTT, IPTV, whatever you want to group that as, is oil and water, and they won't mix. But isn't ATSC trying to do that?
It's not oil and water, it's oil and stone. It's that different. I think there are some subjective parallel worlds between broadcast and OTT as far as the industry is concerned, but as far as technology is concerned, it stops at the source. It just takes its own two different directions. I think when you talk about broadcast, you're talking about one single high quality file reaching an audience with a network that has been built for broadcast. In OTT, you're reaching unicast. First of all, it's unicast where you're reaching a huge audience individually on a network, which is the internet, which is not built for video delivery. Mm-hmm. And again, you're forcing a video consumption on a road that was built not for video consumption, which is, I don't know the percentage, say 80% of the consumption on the internet is video today. And how is that going to work? That's when we start looking at bettering technologies like low latency, et cetera, to improve the quality as it is today. I think OTT and unicast technologies are in place today. People understand it. It's commonplace and words are there. But it's a fragmented value chain that all needs to be coordinated by different persons, consortiums, and standards.
So back to you, if you can take this one. There is a feeling that there's only one real need for broadcast, and that's live sports, which is hugely important. It's more important all the time with the value of the content going up by the minute, it seems. Do you see a time when broadcast is simply only for that kind of maybe news and live sports, and every other consumption is happening over an IP delivered service, an OTT service?
If we refer to the evolution of the revenues get by traditional pay TV operators that was shown this morning, and the evolution within the 3-4 days, it was shown that the market could decrease by 2 billion in Europe. And we know, and we definitely know at Canal Plus, that our ability to inverse this curve that we are already facing after the entrance of beIN Sport and more recently RMC Sports in France. There is a main issue on sports and live football. We must mainly focus on that. And at Canal Plus, we think we must, it's our responsibility to pay the right price for the sports rights. We are definitely aware that we would die without sports and without football, but we are not ready to enter the bubble that will for sure explode between 2020 and 2030. I don't know when, but the market has just skyrocketed, and there is no rationality and economics behind that, and we perfectly know that thanks to consumption data. It has been 10 years in the Canal Plus group that we are analyzing it, collecting it first, and analyzing it. We are thanks to Nagra, a few months ago, we achieved to collect some data also in Africa, which is not a connected area, but it's not the subject today. But in France, we perfectly know how many subscribers are ready to pay for Ligue 1, or how many there are, and it's easy to compute the number, the volume by the value, and we know the global revenue that can generate Ligue 1 in France, and it's not really a scoop, but it's not 800 million euro as MediaPro just paid. So there will be dead, there will be an issue, there will be some merge.
Bankrupt a country, right? Is that what's going to happen?
So, but I think it's very exciting, and we also develop this kind of analysis all around the world, and especially recently in Africa for EPL, tomorrow in Vietnam, where EPL is the main sports right and can appeal the market to pay TV. So we are all very exciting about what will happen, but there will be some blood and there will be some joy in some home. And considering we are here for the last 35 years, we think we have some weapons to play with within the forthcoming months.
Is one of those weapons AI? Can AI help simplify the kind of structure of the infrastructure, and B, can it take cost out? Is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
How would you think it would be doing that?
You know, I think it's, is it AI, is it something else? I think what's great is when really technology fades in the background and when we really focus on what we want to achieve. And I think pay TV operators have to focus on what's essential. And so, of course, AI is extremely powerful because AI helps to scale the talent. You know, AI, the example we have, for example, with Canal Plus. You know, I don't know, before we use AI to assess every marketing campaign in order to know the impact of every marketing campaign. You know, before that, before AI, I don't know how many campaigns you were able to process every year, but I think it's on the count of one hand or maybe two.
And once a year.
And once a year. So what's great is that before you had one person looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 campaigns a year to make his mind on what were the campaign for the next year. You know, now with AI we can assess every campaign and recommend what's the best campaign for a given segment the next time. And this for me is extremely powerful because it really helps, as I said, to scale the talent of the marketing team of Canal+, and this is extremely important.
Yeah, I've actually recently had an experience with a company in Scandinavia that's doing some fascinating work of optimizing the placement of the content into the program guide. So is it going to be better received if it's 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 7, 8, whatever it is? And by doing this, it's almost like a linear programming. They will optimize the viewing of those content.
Yeah, because you can create those micro segments.
Yes, exactly.
You know, that allows that you couldn't do before. You know, because with the computing power and with the knowledge that is really into the machine, and also that we managed to translate from the brain of the specialists to the machine because it's coming from there. Huh? Really, you can do those micro segments, and you can build your grid or build your programming really focused on not only on the profile of your subscriber, but on the profile of the user, meaning the person in front of the TV at that moment in the household, which is also something extremely powerful.
Sure.
So far we talked about contents, and for sure it's one of the two wars every single traditional pay TV operator has to be part of, and with the best he can. But the second one is the churn war, and for sure the whole AI and machine learning algorithm dedicated to score the fragility of our subscriber base, for sure based on the behavior, the consumption behavior, interaction with all the platform, whether set-top box to OTT platforms such as MyCanal for us. And we use that data to, on a daily, monthly basis, compute a score and a note, a scorecard for each subscriber, and use it at every single touch point with our subscriber, from call center when they call us, if they are among the most fragile, for sure we have to soon propose to them the most appropriate downgrade or promotion or adaptation of their package.
So you actually reduce churn by preemptively touching.
Exactly, at every touch point.
And can you tell us what your churn has gone from to by using all this wonderful data?
Yes. And before doing this, I speak about adding consumption data. For several years, we proved that using this data are the best efficient way to decrease the churn curve. And in France, thanks to this kind of AI algorithm, and also which is not quite will of the market, but we re-engaged people because we took the party to put them on the right offer. Maybe if we get less ARPU from a customer, but the point is not to decreasing ARPU, it's just not losing the customer, and we prefer go down to 45 to 20 euros than 45 to 0. It's definitely the churn.
Churn went from 6 to 4, or what was the number?
No, it raised. It's an official figure. So for France, it raised before the new offer at the end of 16. We were around 17% of churn, and today we are around 13.
Wow.
So we are quite proud of both our AI and machine learning analytics for France, and also the new offer and the re-engagement and the decreasing ARPU strategy that could increase or stabilize our portfolio of Canal Plus subscriber in France.
Interesting. The actual that number 4% is exactly the same. The 4% from 17 to 13. The 4% is exactly the same as HBO found when they introduced HBO Go in order to reduce churn.
Okay, it's the last point also of the strategy that I did not mention yet. The fact My Canal is a massive weapon in the churn struggle, and each subscriber using My Canal has on average, and it's not only in France, we have it in Poland, in French overseas territories, in Africa. Each user of My Canal has 2 points of less probability to churn than the one that is not using it. So it's totally part of our loyalty program and loyalty strategy.
Have you got anything to add to that in the Nordics?
I think in terms of AI, first of all, in the bigger, grander picture, I think all of the things that we're inferring from the results of such activities is from my perspective, to understand what's happening, which is changing by the moment. So I don't believe the results of such AI compositions are going to allow for a long-term strategy to be built, but short-term fixes for an ever-changing OTT consumption of the market itself. Depending on which part and which market you are in, the markets are just changing so much. When we read about what Netflix is doing, etc., they're doing something completely different in Asia versus what they're doing in Europe. You can't say that one size fits all. You're trying to understand, first of all, what the hell all these people are doing in terms of consuming content, either in the box, broadcast, or OTT, or unicast. We're first of all trying to understand and make sense of it all, and we're making the fixes are short term. They're the things that you need to do because it's going to cost you a lot of money if you don't fix them from a day-to-day point of view. It forbids you to plan a long-term strategy when you're doing something like this, because if you're planning it based on.
But I think you have to enter. You have to enter into this with no religion.
Yeah.
And so and AI allows to have a try, measure, iterate approach, which is exactly what you are saying in terms of depending on the territory, depending on the segment, depending on the type of content, etc., I act differently.
Yeah.
And this gives this elasticity in the practice of the business. I think it's
yeah.
Now I'm going to, because we're running out of time, we've got 7 minutes remaining. I'm going to see if there's any kind of nasty questions anyone's thought up. But in the meantime, if you haven't, I've got one, and that's on the need for agility to constantly refresh and change and update and make the user experience cool, if that's the right word.
No, I would not say cool is the right word.
Okay, tell me what you think.
No, when you look at Netflix UI, it's not cool. It's extremely efficient. It's the usage is here, the stickiness is here. That's it. But it doesn't have to be cool. It has to be sticky. Just
sticky. Okay, well, you're sticky from now on, not cool. Cool was so much yesterday.
He's
right?
American, so he said.
So, do you see how important do you see the refreshing and updating the user experience? Because I've seen Netflix since they went away from DVD, and I must have seen at least 20 different versions of their UX over the years. So, is it important to do that, to refresh and update?
I'm not a UX expert, but in few words, the strategy and the approach of Canal Plus is, I would say, hybrid. The point is to show the content, because we know content is key to be sticky. So we have to show to the customer the best way possible, and we have an hybrid approach, both linked to AI and machine learning algorithm, pushing the content, the neighbor that is the more likelihood to your behavior will love, and as Netflix perfectly does. And we have still at home edition experts whose job is to enlarge the culture, not only push Canal Plus original content. For sure, it's our totally part of our strategy, but to show the most diverse, the most open-minded the content we share and we distribute are, and not only thanks to algorithm. We have for sure this hybrid approach in Canal Plus, and human as is part of the game when pushing programs is concerned.
Okay, I've got one last little twist in all this, and I want to take, if there's no questions, and that is I'm amazed that I haven't heard the term 4K or 8K yet since I arrived here this morning. And maybe it's because I live in Silicon Valley, and you can't have more than a 10-second conversation without having that somehow come in. So as that kind of thing becomes European, 4K becomes more common in Europe, the piracy issue kind of really starts to get increasingly important, especially for you guys at Kudelski. You guys were founded on the basis of security. Mm-hmm. How is security going to evolve in this new world of OTT, and will be strong enough to have 4K and possibly 8K content delivered on an IP basis? How is that going to be managed?
And I have 2 minutes. No.
You have, less than.
No, but I think really on security. I mean, you have the security that we all know, and that was described in the presentation before. On top of that, we had a lot of AI-based fraud detection, and anti-piracy. Anti-piracy, which is also a great source of data to know which content is trending. Mm-hmm. So all this is interlinked, and really we really push today the security toward an end-to-end security from the studio to the screen, and to make sure that we're able to provide this guarantee of non-piracy, which is a bit the graal of what we are what we are accomplishing every day.
Ajey, do you see 4K coming to your region anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, it is coming. There's, as of yesterday, I noted that one of the biggest operators in Norway, at least, does not even have 4K on video on demand assets, simply because it doesn't work based on the previous technology choice that they have. Okay. Is it important? Of course it is. It's going to become the norm. Devices are going to be more present. If you look at how HD looks today versus SD, you can make out as to how you change your perception of what video quality is by every 3 and 5 years. Protection of 4K content is another totally different question, simply because first of all you want to get it out there and make it commonplace. Then you want to protect it. I think piracy, and these are topics that you can talk about it from a technical perspective, but I'd rather talk about it from a service perspective, where piracy exists for a reason, because it's not a technology issue, it's a service issue. If you don't present content in the right value, in the right form, and the right time to the users, it's going to exist. So you can either fight it through technology, or you could fight it through your business people and offer the right services in the right markets, and then piracy is fought.
Got it.
Just one word, actually,
Please,
one figure on piracy. I'm a man of figures. We carried out lately a quite deep and exhaustive survey on piracy regarding the business model of Canal+ in France, and we arrived at the conclusion that piracy makes us lose around 500,000 subscribers a year.
Wow.
So
500,000 subscribers are not paying for what they should be paying.
Yes, they should be paying, and because it's, as always, mainly around sports program, let's say for 2/3 of this amount it's sports program, and the rest for exclusive cinema and TV shows. And so we are today around 4 million. We have today around 4 million subscribers in France. So it's quite a huge amount we are losing due to piracy. And I let you do the math with an ARPU going to 20 to 60 euros, which is a large fork, but it's many money we are losing.
4% of your revenue. That's just quite. One last minute. Any questions, anyone? We have a question here for John. Do you have a microphone? You all know John, don't you? John Moulding. He's the one we plant to ask a really nasty question.
This is a nice question, actually. This is about data analytics. If you did absolutely best practice, if your data analytics was top class, best practice pay TV operator, and it covered all the bases like operations, marketing, customer retention, etc., what do you think? What impact could you have on profit? I mean, would you raise profit over, say, a couple of years by 3%, 5%, 10%? I mean, what kind of impact are we looking at here?
You're the numbers guy.
Exactly.
You want a financial figure?
Well, just a ballpark figure. I mean,
No,
are
I'm
we
sure if
talking
you push
about?
it, because
Are we talking about a complete game changer, like 10% difference in profit if you did it really well over 3 years,
No, but
or just marginal stuff?
You have the outcome of AI, and then you have the execution. If you, with the outcome, you do proper execution, and you with a try, measure, and iterate approach to really every time push it, I'm sure you can go up to 30%. You know?
30.
Yeah.
Wow. Got some good numbers on this panel. Anyway, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for being on this panel. It's been really interesting, and thank you so much. So we're going to drill